Howdy folks, welcome back to Duke Frazier Productions. In today's video we're going to take a second look at the Uberti Richards Mason in 45 long Colt. Stay tuned. Alright folks, so as I said, I'll say a little bit later on here in the video, I picked up this Richards Mason used. I bought it from a friend who shot cowboy action. And he had got it from a guy that shot cowboy action, and somewhere along the lines, the trigger was altered in this gun, and it was shortened considerably, to the point where when you brought it to half cock, the hammer was not far enough back to get the bolt to clear the frame. So I happened to have a trigger in my parts bin, new trigger that didn't go into the gun that I thought needed it, so I decided to go ahead and put it in this gun. Now, when you buy new parts, you do have to fit them to the gun because they are made a little bit big. So I did have to file the trigger to get it into the gun. And now that I've got it fitted, when you go to half cock, the cylinder turns freely because the bolt now clears the frame. Now one other little issue with this is that the bolt comes off of the cam a little bit too soon. And I'll see if I can get it to show here. But when you're bringing it back, the bolt has come up right there. So it's coming up just a little bit too quick because it comes up before it's ready to lock. What it's doing is it's hitting the cylinder just outside the lead into the stop. That's not a real big issue. I can live with that. So let's get out to the range and see what it does.
Howdy folks, we're out here today with the Richards Mason conversion from Uberti. Now if you remember in the last video that we had, I talked about the gun not wanting to go, the bolt not dropping far enough on half cock for the cylinder to turn. So I put a new trigger in, I got it fitted, and now on half cock the cylinder turns just like it should. Alright, so we have the Richards Mason loaded up here. What we're loaded up with is Black Hills Cowboy Loads 45 long Colt, which is a smokeless powder. And these modern made guns, you can shoot smokeless powder through them. These cowboy loads are reduced, so you can shoot them in conversion cylinders for black powder guns, modern day conversion cylinders. But we'll go ahead and we'll fire a few rounds and see what she does. Does pretty good. Now I'm shooting at some clay targets I got set up at 50 yards, and I didn't bring the target cam stand because I didn't think I was going to need it, and at the last minute I grabbed this gun. But what I can tell, shooting at actually it's about 30 yards here, is it's still shooting about a foot high. Should have kept count. All right, one thing I want to address here real quick. If you're shooting an older gun like this one that has the firing pin built into the hammer nose, you do not want to load 6 rounds, because I don't know how well you can see through there, but the firing pin, when rested down, would be sitting on a primer. So the way that you load these is called the cowboy method. It's also called the John Wayne method. Put one in, skip a chamber, and then you load 4. Try to keep this on camera here. I'm having a hell of a time seeing the view screen on this today. Sun's out, it's pretty bright, so I'm having a hard time. So once you get the 4 in, go ahead and close your loading gate. Then all you got to do is bring it back to full cock, and you can see right in there is no round underneath the hammer. And this is a safe way to carry and shoot these. Alright, just because you can shoot smokeless through these doesn't mean you can't shoot black powder through them. So I've got some black powder loads on this one, so we'll see how they do. and they do just fine. I can see the heat rising off the barrel here. It's getting pretty hot. Alright, so we got our last 5 rounds of black powder loaded up here. And I'll be honest with you, I'm shooting at 30 yards here. And I got 4 clay birds set out there, and I'm shooting around the one that's in the middle. I'll swing the camera around so you can see it. But I'm not hitting anything today. So we'll go ahead and we'll shoot some more rounds here. Yeah, I haven't hit anything. And one thing I've noticed in shooting this is that I'm probably going to have to take the trigger out and take a little bit more off of it. The trigger that came in was really long, and I had to file it down to get it to fit in. But I can see now that I'm going to have to take a little bit more off of it. Because when I got to shooting these black powder rounds, there's a couple times there, and you probably noticed it, the trigger did not engage properly on the sear and the hammer, and it fell back to half cock. So what happened is I pulled it back and then it went to half. So I'm just going to have to do a little bit more filing, but that won't be a big problem to fix. But overall, it's a lot of fun putting black powder through these, but it doesn't take long for the barrel to warm up with black. Alright, so there's the 4 clay birds I was shooting at about 30 yards, and I just shot all the way around them. I didn't hit anything.
Alright, so we got out to the range, we ran some smokeless and some black powder through it, and I was shooting at about 30 yards, and I wasn't hitting any of the clay targets that I was aiming at, but it was still fun to shoot it. One thing that I noticed was that the trigger does need a little bit more metal taken off of it, because a couple times, as you've probably seen in the video, and as I stated, I got it back and then it dropped back down to half cock because it didn't come far enough back to engage. So I'm really close on there. Probably just need 1 or 2 swipes of the file. But overall, I'm very pleased with the gun now. It's a lot easier to load and to get the empties out of. So this will be a fun one to keep shooting. So if you've liked what you've seen on the channel thus far, be sure to hit the subscribe button down there below. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook. You can find a link down to that in the description box below. Stay tuned and keep your powder dry.